if you have an idea, and if it's something that won't leave your mind, is because in some way or another you have to do it.
Hi Marcy folks, this is Elina. Today I'm in New York City and I have an interview with a super special guest. So, a mezzo-soprano, an actress, an influencer, and the founder of 360 of Opera, Eugenia Forteza. Welcome, Eugenia.
Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to be here and talking to you in person off Zoom in New York City after not seeing each other for 10 years or something like that. Yeah, it's been a while. We're going to talk about running projects, about collaborations, about networking, about being an influencer, an opera influencer, so things that Eugenia does and how it can be helpful for the emerging artists out there. So Eugenia, my first question to you is actually, what is the 360 of Opera? How did it start? Why did you decide to found it? So just a couple of words on that.
So 360 of Opera, in essence, it's a blog. It started with the idea of being a blog, but I started it through social media, mainly Instagram. So it became first a big social media channel. I started this in 2016. So it was a moment where the opera world wasn't that present in social media channels yet. So there was, it's an idea that came to me mainly because I saw there was a void, in a sense, in that, in showing the behind the scenes of the opera world. I was fresh out of school. I was very, very passionate about opera, you know, going to a lot of shows. And what happens to a lot of young artists is that, you know, when you're very passionate, but maybe you don't have access to expressing all of that on stage yet. Especially in opera, where, you know, our instruments take so much time to develop. So I had always had interest in journalism, and I liked social media, you know, I use it. So it's kind of I didn't really plan it. Inspiration struck me, and I had this idea, you know, for this concept of 360 degrees of opera, you know, like let's share with everyone, which is what I saw. You know, I didn't just see what I was doing on the stage, but I was very fascinated by everything that happens behind the scenes, and I felt like not a lot of people had access to that, and I very much felt that if more people had access to that, knew about it, it would demystify opera a little bit, right? So that's how I started it, and it very much resonated with people. But I never had a set plan. You know, I very much went with the flow, and it grew a lot. So it mainly started as a social media channel, and now we have a website with the blog on the website. We have a shop. We have interviews, lots of collaborations, always with the goal of helping young artists however we can, you know, educating, collaborating, making the industry a better place, and also accidentally kind of we develop, you know, this like small business aspect in a kind of an influencer model of promoting shows, promoting programs, and that's a little bit everything that we do.
That's so amazing. So it is pretty much artist oriented, or it's more audience oriented? What's your goal to show behind the scenes?
I would say both, because in my experience, so as I came to the States when I was 19 to study, and I did my undergrad and my grad, and throughout school, and during the summers also for my work study, for all the festivals that I was participating in, I worked a lot in production. So since day one, that's how I discovered opera, because previously I had done some musical theater. I was already studying classical voice, but I didn't come from a background of, you know, like huge opera knowledge. I very much discovered opera by myself, and I did it while being at school mostly. And this school experience for me since day one also involved the production aspect. So I was seeing a lot of things that seemed very important to me that I felt a lot of my colleagues weren't seeing, but also the audience wasn't seeing. So since the start, I would say with this concept of 360, for me, it was to expose my colleagues to the importance of all of the production aspect and everything that needs to happen for us to be able to be on stage, because I think that only makes you a better performer. And at the same time, to also educate audiences and get them more involved, because I think if you learn how to appreciate the process and, you know, and learn about the artists, not just the artists who are on stage, right? But the artists behind the scenes, once you're sitting there, you are going to enjoy the performance on a different level, because you're able to see details, you're able to appreciate the work that goes into it on another level, and that very much drives everything I do with 360.
Amazing. So that's communicated only through social media, or you also host workshops, events? I mean, we are in a strange situation now, but pre-pandemic, and of course for later, what are your plans, if it's not a secret?
Yeah, so it's mostly been through social media. With the pandemic, we started doing a lot of interviews on the Instagram setup. Instagram is definitely our main platform.
How many followers do you have?
25.8K.
That's amazing. So the Instagram is below. Please follow 360 of Opera. Make sure, don't forget to do that.
Thank you. So yeah, that's definitely our home base. And with the pandemic, since we had more time, we finally were able to launch our website. So on the website, we have, now it's the official home for our blog, where we also have articles and interviews. We have a shop where we design merch, which has been a lot of fun. But yeah, mostly because I'm someone who likes to do a lot of things and get involved with, I know you do too, but the constant battle is to, you know, not spread myself too thin. So I very much always kept 360 as something flexible. I go with the flow. I never wanted to build something too big that I wasn't going to be able to handle, right? So with that in mind, I wanted to always keep it a flexible format where if I have more time, I can give it more time. If I don't have to, you know? So that's been a little bit what's driven the things we do or we don't. I do have some amazing people helping me out with the blog, with the Instagram, and we haven't hosted 360 of Opera workshops, but I've been invited to a lot of workshops. We work a lot with academies to help promote their programs, to help secure scholarships. So whatever we can do to collaborate with organizations to help promote, and this is where a little bit the influencer model comes in, which wasn't my goal at all. It kind of just happened. You know, I'm very selective on what we promote and what we don't promote. I've been in the opera industry and the opera education industry for a while. You know, I studied here, and so I know a lot of the good teachers, the good coaches, and there's some really great programs and academies out there. And if I can collaborate with them and vouch for them, and help students get access to those amazing people.
It's so important. It's so crucial.
Yeah, that's so education, and promoting good performances, good programs. That's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, it's an important pathway that you are pretty much creating for a lot of people, and you're leading them into the opera world.
Yeah, especially now with the pandemic, there's been all of a sudden, not that it wasn't doable before, but all of a sudden because we were pushed to doing things online, there's a lot of new possibilities as far as learning online for singing, for opera. So I've had the pleasure of hosting it through these academies, workshops on social media, and also just advocating for these programs where all of a sudden a lot of students, like I was, when I was living in Argentina, I didn't have access to all these teachers worldwide, all these stars that now, are teaching master classes. So all of that I think is a newfound possibility, and so I'm working a lot with that, with promoting those opportunities.
That's amazing. Wow. But well, we briefly discussed this beforehand. So you chose a path of not going towards non-profit. So your idea is to have a blog, and also you don't have a fiscal sponsorship, or do you? So how does this work, if I may ask?
Yeah, so the idea here is, again, my priority is my performance career. So 360 of Opera grew much more than I could have ever imagined.
It's the best thing.
It wasn't my plan at all. So there's a lot. I always have ideas and things I want to do. There's a lot I could do. I could absolutely go the nonprofit route. I could, there's a million things I could do. But that unfortunately, I choose not to because I have to pick my battles. But I still very much want to continue with this mission. And obviously, if it's a concept and a channel that has resonated with so many people, I want to keep it going however we can, so that we keep helping singers and students, and promoting the good information that's out there and making a change. At the same time, this is something that takes a lot of time and takes a lot of work and effort, and so some of it had to become a small business, which is what the influencer model is. You're a small business, you're the business. So all of the part of the merch and promoting and doing sponsored content, all of that falls into that business model of the influencer. But at the same time, I'm not trying to just make money off of this, obviously. So whatever I can do to, offer free tickets, find a way to get people scholarships, all of this is through collaboration and networking and meeting people. But yeah, that's kind of where we are.
That's amazing. That's a very wonderful and profound and important mission that you are doing, and bravo for such a growth. Also, I wanted to ask you, well, you are not just the opera person, you are also an actress, and I'm not sure how did that happen. So what are you doing now? So pretty much you are a combination of so many faces, personalities. So the Eugenia, the actress.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah,
please?
so actually, I think it's the eternal battle of someone with a lot of interest, which happens to a lot of artists, because at the end of the day, artists are that. We're a mix of a lot of things, right? Yeah. A lot of interests. And as far as acting, I've always had some sort of acting training because of when I was doing musical theater, I had acting class. When I was in school for opera, I was very lucky to have really good acting teachers. I was very lucky because I know not everyone has, but I happen to have really good acting teachers throughout my education, and also really great stage directors. In both my schools, at Temple University and I was at NEC for a little bit, and at Rutgers, we had guest stage directors. So I got to work with a lot of people who were working, not only in academia, but out there in the opera industry. So all of that really developed my acting skills. And at the same time, I came to opera not so much from a musician background, but more, I grew up playing sports,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up playing sports, and I very much always had that, like, I love the stage, I love the cameras, I'm not gonna lie. So, like a lot of, that was always, so I came to opera more with that skill set than the, music. For me, formal music training came a little later because I discovered I could sing, and and one thing led to the other, and when I took it more seriously, I was like, okay, we gotta study music.
So interesting.
But I would say that always my better skill set was the being on stage, the stage presence, the character development, the acting skills. So that was very second nature to me, and at the same time, I've always been obsessed with movies and Hollywood, and this was very much a part of my life, my entire life. And I think I've always been an actor, but I didn't realize, I would say, like, realize that was a possibility for me until a couple of years ago, moving to New York. I think it's something I've always wanted to dedicate myself fully, but it's not, when my background is very academic, family-wise and school-wise, so it's, you don't automatically think like, of course I can be an actor, it's like, so I think it took, a path into musical theater, opera, being on stage for a while, moving to New York and saying like, hey, like, I can do that too, I want to do that.
Especially in New York City.
Especially in New York City. And also I would say some of my teachers, my acting teachers in opera programs, especially, I'm gonna name drop him, Brendan McShaffrey. He was my teacher at my last year of undergrad. He's amazing. And I remember clearly him saying, go to an acting class and don't say you're an opera singer. Just go as you, go to a, straight acting. Don't go with the opera singer baggage, And I did. And it was awesome, And so since being, after graduating, finishing my master's and coming to New York, immediately I started exploring that route. And there's so much you can do here in New York City. At the beginning, just to learn how to be on set, there's so much background work and auditions and commercials, and so yeah, once I moved to New York City, I kind of took that more seriously, and I've been doing that as well. And a couple of years ago, I signed with a manager. In the acting world, it works a little bit different than in opera. In opera, the manager comes a little later. In acting, you kind of need an agent or a manager to really start, get access to a lot of the auditions. So I was lucky enough to sign with a manager pretty early on, which allowed me to really, go for a lot of auditions and start trying out. There's so much of just doing the auditions, showing up. And finally this year I booked a major feature film So
Congratulations!
thank you.
Is it still a secret or?
No, so this summer I was in Buffalo all summer shooting this film, which was an incredible experience. We still have to. We have 1 week left. That's supposed to be in a different location, and yeah, hopefully I don't know the details because that part doesn't depend on the actors. They don't tell us much. But hopefully I'm hoping it comes out sometime next year, and I'm hoping it's the first of many because I loved being on set. It was a dream. I worked with incredible people. And it's, it's very different than being on stage, and I love both. And even just straight theater, like I would love to also like do more just straight theater. It's very, being on set, being in an opera, doing theater, of course it's all related, but
there are differences.
Yeah.
But it's so great to hear that all of these are the places with which you dwell. That's so fulfilling. And do you know the title of the film or the?
So it's about the life of Mother Cabrini, who is the saint of the immigrants here in the States. She was an Italian nun who came to the States as a missionary, and I'm really hoping this film will make her more well known because she should be, because essentially she was one of the first female entrepreneurs in a world of men. It's a very fascinating story what this woman did. She built hospitals, orphanages, university, so much, and not just here in the States, worldwide. It's incredible what she did in the 1890s. So that's a story. The title is not official yet, so it's called Untitled Cabrini Project still. But yeah, that's the topic, and so it's a period film, and it was incredible to be a part of a period movie, being on a set that was built, just traveling in time like that.
I'm sure it was a huge research, and it was quite an experience. We're going to be on the lookout. Eugenia, what are other things, other projects, singing projects perhaps, planned for you for the upcoming months?
Yeah.
If you could share
so starting this week, I'm starting rehearsals for L'Amico Fritz with Teatro Grattacielo, which is a company here in New York City. I'm covering the role of Beppe. And then after that, I have a couple concerts. I'm singing in the anniversary of the St. Nicholas Orthodox Russian Church.
Wow.
With Spotlight Artist Management.
Wonderful.
Yes, we're doing a Russian masterpieces concert. It's going to be amazing. We already had a rehearsal for it.
You're singing in Russian?
Yes.
What are you singing?
I'm singing Polina from Kingdom. I'm singing her aria, and I'm singing the duet with Zoya.
Great.
Yeah.
By the way, the interview with Zoya is linked up here. Check it out. Zoya Gramagin, soprano.
She's
our colleague.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
It's such a pleasure to sing with her, and Sasha is our music director, and that's going to be beautiful. I'm so happy to be a part of it. And then after that, I'm singing with City Lyric Opera. We're doing Pauline Viardot's Cendrillon, which is very exciting because her music is being performed more and more. I'm a huge fan of Pauline Viardot, a very interesting woman, female musician in the opera world. And I'm very happy, that her compositions are being performed again. So, the Massenet's Cendrillon is very well known. Rossini's Cenerentola is very well known. Well, Pauline Viardot has one as well. It's a little shorter. It's called it's like a salon opera. So I'm singing, I'm covering one of the evil sisters, Armelinde, which I've done in the Massenet Cendrillon already.
Yeah. Same role.
Well, they're called differently,
but
it's the Evil Sisters.
Uh-huh.
I like that role. It's very fun, very fun. I like comedy a lot.
That's great.
So I'm doing an Evil Sister again. So that's with City Lyric Opera. And then I have a Christmas concert in the Philly area with a good friend of mine, Cuban pianist Iris Blanco. So we're still defining the repertoire for that, but that's going to be in December. And then after that, hopefully I travel to see my family.
Crossed.
Yes.
Wow, good luck with all of these great deeds that are about to happen in your life. That's such a huge art of actually combining so many different things and running the blog and being an actress, and you have constant auditions, right, all the time, and singing and being very active in all of them. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
It's a very healthy balance that you have, as far as I could tell. So you are on the board of 2 non-profit organizations. Can you please talk about your experience in this role and what are they? So
yeah.
What are you doing there?
Yeah, so I'm the vice president of the board for Frisson Films. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to marrying classical music with film. The founders are my friend Ellie Case, who's an amazing musician, singer, and Ryan, her partner, is a filmmaker. So they do amazing work together, and this organization has been working. They do a festival every year, and they've been doing lots of very interesting collaborative projects where the idea is always this, to mix classical music with the visual medium of film. So I'm on the board for them. I mostly bring my advice from my experience with social media, with marketing, with promotion. We just had a meeting recently, and they're working on a lot of exciting projects. We just got a pretty interesting grant.
Congrats.
So it's exciting to see how an organization starts growing and starts having the ability to get funding to help the artists, so to be able to grow more, to see it go from scratch, from just a project between friends to something that's growing, and unfortunately it comes down to that, like having funding. So these grants are very important, so that you're able to pay the artists, you're able to have just more technology to do the things you need to do.
Of course.
So that's very exciting. And I'm also on the board for Urban Playground Chamber Orchestra, which is it's also a friend of mine who founded this. I forget how many. This one's been around for a couple more years. But they do amazing work. They've been doing a lot of educational outreach and very great work as far as the repertoire that they do, doing unconventional repertoire that people should be hearing that they don't usually hear. And they've been doing this before the last 2 years, where all of this kind of became a trend, right? So I very much believe in their work. And I'm on that board, and as well, the advice that I am able to give the most is from my experience in production and marketing and social media and strategies, and how to reach to new audiences, get people to come to the concerts, get people to donate.
The most important things.
The
audience.
So yeah, I'm very happy to be involved, mostly because it's at the core of it is they're my friends, they're my friends, and they're doing amazing work, and whatever I can do to help, is.
That's so noble, and wow, I don't know how you possibly find the time even for that.
It's hard.
It's a mystery. The links for both organizations are provided below. Make sure to check them out. And now I want to move on logically to the next question about your experience in social media and marketing. Did you learn marketing somehow? How did this happen?
Yeah,
You're an artist. So what's the secret here?
So I never studied marketing. I have to say a lot of it comes from instinct. Let me go back a little bit. My dad worked in business. He's a consultant, so I guess I probably like some of that. You know, he's always worked in consulting, and I've always been curious, you know, and ask questions. And then so I went to the French school in Buenos Aires, and you do have a major the last 2 years. So I did do economics.
Wow.
So I guess that probably transferred some of that, you know, later. Now I'm actually putting this together now. So I did study, you know, I had a background in like, you know, but then the social media aspect, I was always, you know, when we went out with friends in high school, and I was always the one with the camera. I always very much enjoyed the sharing aspect of social media, of, you know, like being excited about things and showing what I'm up to. And then because I left home so young, I was 19, it was also a way for me to stay in touch with my friends, with my family, keep them posted about what I was doing. So social media was very much just like second nature to me. And then when I accidentally started 360 of Opera, it was that, you know, it grew very quickly because there wasn't anything like it at that moment. There is more of it now. Yeah, so in working with this, I started meeting a lot of people, and I would say like maybe a year in, I met Kate Pizzaroni from Lenny's Studio. Lenny's Studio is a boutique website and PR and social media agency for classical musicians, and so I started working with her. I was also working with my friend Suzanne Vinnick, who at the time was building her brand, Shoperatic. She now has her own fashion brand.
Wow.
She's a singer and a fashion designer. So I started working with a lot of people in this aspect of like promotion and marketing, and it was somehow something that I did intuitively, but at the same time, I would say I had like really great mentors, you know, in working at Lenny's Studio and working with Shoperatic. I was learning from the best. I was learning while doing the job, you know.
It's the best way to learn, actually.
So I was working, but at the same time, I learned so much just by being there, by having to do it, you know, by being put in these situations where, you know, I was handling the social media accounts of a lot of famous opera singers, and so at the same time, you know, I was doing PR at the same time. So I learned a lot. You know, I worked there for 2 years, and I gathered a lot of experience. It was a great experience for me. And doing that all while, you know, managing 360 of Opera as it was growing. There was a lot of that, a lot of communication skills, a lot of, you know, I was talking with a lot of artists, a lot of organizations that wanted to promote on 360, when, you know, when it's an interview, when it should be a sponsored post, kind of. I just had to learn by doing, to be honest. So it's all the knowledge I have is very practical and experience based. And some of it is just that it was something that I guess I like to do, and I was able to do. There was a lot of it that was just easy for me, I guess.
Wow. Well, yeah, because if you are in the vibe, then you love it and it goes naturally.
Yeah, I guess it was a combination of a lot of skills that I had, and then having the opportunity to put it together practically, you know, and in a job, having to do it. So So yeah, it's something I feel very confident about, that I have something to offer on that aspect. Yeah.
How big is your team?
So it's me. It's mostly me. And then I have 3 beautiful, amazing young artists who help me out. Melanie Spector.
Mm-hmm.
She's an amazing coloratura. She also has her account is called Crafting Coloratura. She does stitching, I think it's called. She's amazing. She's again someone else with many talents.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But mainly she's an amazing coloratura soprano. She helps me out mostly with the Instagram account. Abby Green, who's a mezzo soprano who lives in London. She's taking a little bit of a break right now, but we did some amazing collaborations with her. She helped me with the website. Mm-hmm. She was doing these monthly quizzes on the Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And then my latest addition is Young. She's amazing. I love her. She's 17 years old.
Wow.
She's from China. She's applying to schools here in the States, so I'm really hoping she gets to do that. She's an amazing writer. Mm-hmm. Very just brilliant girl. So it's been very fun with her because she's younger. There's been very much a mentoring relationship there. And I'm so grateful for her work, her help. She's been writing a lot for the blog, so she's been helping me more with that. But yeah, I'm very proud of my all-female team.
Yeah, that's quite something. I mean, it's always the most important thing,
Yeah.
To have a strong team.
And then, I'm also very lucky to have a lot of amazing friends who, here and there, like, do guest host. Like yesterday, I had a friend who's in Miami attend a performance, so he was our guest host for that day. A lot of times I get invited to a lot of shows and sometimes I just can't go because I'm in rehearsal or I don't have time. So I'll have, friends go to represent 360. So yeah, I'm very grateful to always have someone around I can count on.
That's really, really important because that's a huge support for every influencer, entrepreneur, artist. You need people around.
Yeah, it's at the core of it, it's this concept of collaboration. Yeah. And especially with social media is you can't just do it completely on your own, or you can, but you're limiting your audience because we all individually have audiences. So the more you collaborate with other people, the more people can have access to what you have to say, and it also makes it more interesting for your own community. You don't want everyone in your audience to be the same. You want to have a variety. Diversity of people tuning in, collaborating, contributing. So that's something I always keep in mind, and especially the busier I get with my performance schedule, I need to adapt to find ways to keep this going and keep it relevant and keep it helpful and interesting. That's the thing about social media. It changes very fast.
Oh, yes.
It changes very fast, so you can't be too set in your ways or too set in your goals or plans because the time it takes you to do it, you're already late.
Right.
So that's a little bit also why I've always kept it very, go with the flow, flexible.
No hard goals, I guess.
No, and I also want to keep it something that's fun. And that's how social media has worked, at least so far for me, is I always want to make sure that it keeps that spontaneous energy and that fun aspect to it, because I think it's very easy to get too serious with it, and then it become a hassle, and one more thing that you have to do. You know, like as artists, there's so many things that we have to do. We have to practice, but so we have to do so many things. So I always wanted to, you know, of course, the more something grows, the more responsibilities come with it. But my priority is to always make sure that it's something that I'm enjoying it, because if I'm enjoying it, then other people will as well.
Yeah. The vibe is contagious.
Yeah, and that's hard to maintain, you know, but I check myself regularly to make sure that that's the case, because that's always been the spirit of it. And to me, the most important thing is that as things change, as things evolve, that the original spirit of the concept remains intact.
Yeah. Wow, that's the most healthy approach, I guess. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Elina.
Do you have any advice for emerging artists who have some ideas, maybe they don't know what to start with, how to start? What would you say? You are saying you are actually mentoring younger artists.
Yeah, I would say start, but responsibly. Because what I saw a lot during the pandemic was people start things in a way that was like maybe too aggressive, and then realizing that they can't keep up with it, right? So I would say always if you have an idea, and if it's something that won't leave your mind, is because in some way or another you have to do it. You know, if it's because I have a lot of ideas daily, and I'm like, okay, let's check back in, you know, in a couple of days. If it's still there, then I have to find a way to do it. Sometimes it's not there. It's like, okay, because sometimes you don't have to do everything your brain tells you, right?
Yeah, it's hard to be selective though.
Yeah, but if there's something you really believe in and you really want to do, it's step by step. The first step is to just, you know, don't be too precious about your ideas. Don't be too precious about how to do things. And it's so easy these days to, you know, try to see at what other people are doing and say like, oh, I should be doing it this way. This is how you're supposed to do it. I don't believe in that at all. I usually go like the other route. I very much do things my own way, because I know that at the end of the day, it has to work for me first. I need to be able to do it, you know? So, I would say first, don't be too precious about your ideas. Find a way to just start. But then secondly, listen to yourself and be responsible with your time. Don't spread yourself too thin in a way that, you know, you start this massive project and then a month in you just can't keep up, so you can't do it anymore. So you know, so I think this, especially nowadays where there's so much content, so much going on, everyone's starting projects, I would say the number one thing to avoid would be to start something and not keep it going. So to avoid that, it's not starting, you know, or planning too much until you start. It's starting, but maybe starting little by little, you know, and grow little by little. 360, I started it in 2016, you know, it's been, it grew a lot at the beginning, but then as Instagram exploded and a lot of other people started using Instagram for opera, you know, it's not always going to be like a super quick growth. There's ups and downs, and the key is to just keep going at your pace. You know, don't worry about what other people are doing. It's super important to observe, to find inspiration. You know, you can be so inspired by what other people are doing, and it can give you ideas. But there's a difference between that and trying to imitate or trying to you know, keep up with how things are supposed to be. So yeah, I think my advice would be that start, but don't be, you know, be realistic. Don't spread yourself too thin so that it's once you start, you can keep it going.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm getting so many ideas myself now. I'm so inspired.
Good.
Talking to you, yeah. So, thank you so much, Eugenia, for sharing these amazing insights, your experience, and your journey, and the journey of the 360. Don't forget to follow the 360 of opera.
We're everywhere. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok.
Oh my
We're
God.
everywhere.
Amazing.
Website.
Yeah. So the links will be below. Let's find out more things about behind the scenes in the opera. Thanks to Eugenia and Opera 360.
Thank you so much, Elina, for having me. This has been amazing to catch up with you, and thank you everyone for watching, and see you on the gram.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Check out the links. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!